So how have you been doing? It's been a big week.
We've been great. I know, like so many baseball fans, and I guess everyone, we were so excited to watch University of Mississippi win the national championship. Just a phenomenal week. I was able to go up for the game on Saturday, and the atmosphere is beautiful. Weather was cool enough, and a lot of Ole Miss fans showed up. I mean, there was that powder blue everywhere, and the games were really thrilling, and just really, really a phenomenal place. The stadium is really, really nice. The area around the stadium is nice. They have this walkover over the Missouri River, and really have rebuilt their downtown. They've got PayPal, and Berkshire Hathaway is there. Mutual of Omaha, of course, a big medical center. A lot of very positive things, and they've harnessed those to have tremendous sporting events. And it was just really electric. And then yesterday, to watch all that happen. We got behind and got ahead, got behind, got ahead again. It's just really, really unbelievable. I think one of the highlights for me was watching them go back to back to back with 3 home runs to put the game away on Saturday. Really 2 pass balls. That's just kind of unbelievable. It was just our time. So,
yeah, sometimes it's just meant to be.
It was just when that happened, I said, well, whatever, higher power is, the good Lord's just watching over us right now. But anyway, to have national championships for a state our size, 3 million people, to have national championships like this, successive like that. It was interesting to me, and I know we got a whole bunch of other things to talk about, but
we got all morning.
Well, thank you very much. I visited with a lot of people there. I like to walk in the stands, in between innings, and when innings are going on, just visiting and talking to a lot of people. And there's of course a lot of Mississippi people, but to a person, everybody that I talked to that was from the area, from Nebraska and Iowa area. They were so nice. We're so glad to have y'all. Y'all are so nice. Y'all were great last year. You're great this year. I mean, just a real positive imprint, and to have our SEC teams on for 2 successive years, about 14 times on national TV, is a pretty phenomenal thing for our state. And I'm confident that our enrollment will go up just like it did, and our ability to be partisan and really national athletics just went way up again. So very good for the state of Mississippi last year, at least in Omaha, Nebraska, and the ladies golf team.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. We've had several different things. We got Pearl River Community College.
They won the national championship just a little while ago. Yeah, I talked to the president just about a month ago.
So we've got all these things that keep stacking up. This has a positive impact for the state overall, not just in athletics, and not even just with the colleges, just overall. I think it has a positive impact.
It really does, and of course it energizes your fan base, and of course the Mississippi State will be saying, well, we won it first, and Ole Miss will say we won it this year. So everybody's all energized to hopefully to go back to the baseball this next year, and also support their university, which is a really big part of this. But there's such a positive attitude. You really can't buy the way that University of Mississippi baseball players conducted themselves in their interviews, how they handle themselves. Just really, it's very positive. Coach Bianco, and the same as last year. We just got class kids, and it shows off our universities well.
And it shows off the state well.
Yeah. I was like everybody else walking in a circle, wondering whether we're going to come back or not. So it's really exciting, I think, for Mississippi, and a real positive thing for us. We need to build off that for the rest of the year.
Well, and for next year, I was going to ask, is there anything that the Senate can do to help USM be there next year so we can hit for the cycle amongst the 3 major universities?
I tell you, if University of Mississippi, if Ole Miss hadn't won it, Southern would have. I went to that game, too. I went to the Southern Ole Miss Regional, and Ole Miss has phenomenal pitching, as you saw, and I'm not so sure the University of Southern Mississippi didn't have equal pitching. It just happened to be that particular 2 games that Ole Miss won. But no, the University of Southern Mississippi it should have been in Omaha, too.
I think I know I would agree with that, but then I'm a Golden Eagle, so I would say that.
Well, you had the team to be there. I can tell you were a lot better than some of the other ones that made it.
Yeah, and that happens sometimes.
It does. They just put us against each other because they don't want all of our teams at the same time.
The rest of the country starts getting an inferiority complex when we all show up.
That's accurate.
Now, let's get right to one of the big ones. Yep. Friday, the Supreme Court issued their opinion on Roe versus Wade on the Dobbs case ruled in favor of the state of Mississippi overturning abortion. Just first of all, do you have just a generalized statement you'd like to make about that ruling?
Well, we did that. We sent that out before. All of us that are pro-life, said a little prayer, thank you. But clearly in Mississippi, and you'll have Lynn on in a minute, and she can talk about this, and she should talk about it as she handled the case. So I'll leave that up to her. But clearly in Mississippi, after this 10 days, will be solely a pro-life state, except for health of the mother and rape. And it's things I think that most Mississippians believe in, and we're real pleased with the ruling itself. But after the aftermath of this is going to really be twofold. The most important of which is what are we going to do with these children? Now, we really don't have any statistics on how many abortions were held in Mississippi or how many Mississippi citizens had an abortion. But in the instance that these children are allowed to be born, we've got to be really, really pro child. And I was over at Child Protective Services about a month ago when we started working on this. When the case was leaked, it was obvious that we were going to win. When the decision, we started working with Child Protective Services and others on how are we going to shore up what Mississippi's done. And quite frankly, it was time to do that anyway, regardless of this litigation. And so you'll see today, actually, in today's press release, we've appointed a committee, the Senate Study Committee for Mothers, Children, and Families, and it'll be headed up by Senator Nicole Boyd from Oxford, and she will have on her committee our President Pro Tem, Dean Kirby, our President of Judiciary A, which is Bryce Wiggins, Rod Hickman, Angela Hill, our President of Medicaid, which is our Chairman of Medicaid, which is Kevin Blackwell, Senator Hob Bryan from North Mississippi, who is the head of our public health, Chad McMahon, and Senator Angela Turner Ford. So those individuals have been tasked. I spoke with them all Friday. Those individuals have been tasked to start looking at pregnancy to 3 years old, which involves our adoption. Our adoption process is skewed to take too long. I visited in Grenada with some of the individuals who work for Child Protective Services that are out working with these children. And, Dave, we have about 5,000 of them that are in our care just throughout the system. And talking with them, this one caseworker was going to a graduation ceremony or award ceremony for a school up in Abbeville or North Mississippi Water Valley area. And she was going because this foster child this was their second or I think third maybe foster home, had gotten an award in school. And so our caseworker was going to the award ceremony. Now, that's really difficult. You can imagine a child not having anybody to come, but at least a caseworker came. And in some instances, we have had children spend Christmas in a hotel room. So there's work to be done here on children and our child support, our child care system, how expensive it is and how do we do that, early intervention, a lot of different issues I think that now we can focus on with laser about our children from pregnancy to 3 years old and the mothers that take care of them, quite frankly.
Can you stick around?
Sure, be happy to.
Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, we'll continue this discussion because I have a question or two about the adoption process that you may have an answer to, and we'll do that when we return here on the Gallo Show, live on Super Talk Mississippi. Back live in the Trustmark Bank studios. Dave Hughes in for Paul on the Gallo Show on this Monday morning, and in studio with us, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Mississippi, Delbert Hosemann. And Governor, right before the break, we were talking about the aftermath of the Supreme Court decision on Roe versus Wade on Friday, and how we now need to focus on the children. And we were talking about adoption, and one thing that I did want to mention that I think a lot of people don't realize, adoption is expensive.
And time-consuming. Andrea Sanders has taken over there, and Child Protective Services doing a real good job. When I was over there, like I said, about a month ago, and visiting with the young man that's running the adoption services, and also a good number of the other people there, it is time-consuming and expensive and lawyerly and whatever. And you've got these children, that a family would be willing to take and adopt. That's a big step for a family to do that, to assimilate them with their own children or whatever. So we need to have an expedited way to do that. The other side of that, Dave, as horrible as it may sound, we got to make sure that we're putting them in a safe place. We don't want to take them from unsafe place to another unsafe place. So there are some things that have to be done, I think, that our caseworkers have to do to make sure that these children are in a safe place when they get there. But like I said, most of this is we devoted, I believe, another $50 million this last year of our AARP money to Child Protective Services to increase the number of caseworkers, and also to get other matters that they had that had been really neglected at that agency for a while. We did the same thing with mental health. That's the other part of this, the mental health part coming out of COVID, and with our young people. We're having a spike in that, actually, and we're in federal litigation over some of our mental health. I was over at the case early this year, before the federal district judge, and we're making a good bit of progress with that too. I visited with their caseworkers last month, and those two issues are more intertwined than you would think. But I think we're making good progress there. I do want to make sure that our red tape is getting accelerated. And that's why our legislature was good to appropriate the money. And then I want to look at how the process goes. How we can expedite that. How our lawyers are hired and stuff. Lynn Fitch will be helpful with that. So we've got some work to do. We can do better. I want to do better. Particularly, this particular ruling has shone a good light on that. And I also want to congratulate Becky Curry, who wrote it in the House, Joey Fillingane in the Senate. Senator Fillingane was just really helpful in this piece of legislation that ended up in the Supreme Court, as Governor Bryant for signing it, and President Trump, I guess, would be the one that appointed the Supreme Court justices, 3 of them, and that has its lasting effects. But I think in Mississippi, we can and are, and before this occurred, are addressing the mental health and the child protective services part of the state government.
Do you think there are any chances of any changes to the Mississippi law about abortion moving forward? You hear everybody's picking things apart. One thing that I keep hearing being thrown out is that there's no exception for incest in this. There are all these things that get thrown out. Do you see any possibility of anything coming up to change any of it? Well,
what will happen is, I think there'll be legislation. There's 122 members of the House and 52 of the Senate. So somebody's going to introduce legislation on just about everything that has to do with this. And so I think we'll start through the process. And it's the reason that I named this committee to start this. We want to ferret through what's real and what's unreal, and what really needs to be done and done. And that's a great group of senators that are going to be looking at it for us. I do anticipate there'll be some legislation that will evolve out of this. Not sure exactly where it's going. There were 3 statutes before, and again, Lynn will talk about this in a minute. One has to do with the 6 weeks, and another with the heartbeat bill that was 15 weeks. But both of those had triggers that really go back to the main bill that does not allow abortion other than rape in the life of the mother. So I think you'll see that. I think on a national perspective, I think you're going to see the fight in every state. I was talking to Susan B. Anthony, an employee of Susan B. Anthony, about that, and there are a lot of states that these are, will be a close call. Not in Mississippi. We're not going back to where they're pre-Dobbs case. But in any event, in other cases, there'll be a lot of money spent and a lot of political time spent on whether or not to have abortions in their states. And I saw several of the governors, like the governor of Wisconsin was offering clemency, and the governor of Washington was pledging, all of the left coast states were pledging that they were going to continue theirs. So abortion didn't go away in this country, but as Thomas Jefferson indicated, it came back to the people who live in each of the states to make that decision. Our decision, I think, is rock solid.
Yeah, and it runs the gamut. You were talking about some of those states. South Dakota, I don't know if you saw this, their governor said they will prosecute any doctor that performs an abortion. So you've got both ends and everything in between. Yeah,
you do. And the people who live within their borders will make their decisions, and the people that don't want to live within those borders can move to another state, or do something else. So I think in our case it'll be rock solid, but certainly I think we'll see more emphasis on looking at these children that are now going to be born into our state to make sure that they're either adopted, taken care of. The health of the mother is really important. As you know, the Senate passed postpartum for taking care of working mothers. Mothers that are not working, of course, are on Medicaid, but mothers that are working, say they're making, like some of our state employees would be making like $36,000 a year. You can be making $36,000 a year and not have coverage for a mother. And so the Senate passed it 3 times the last time, and I think that'll probably come back up again to make sure that babies don't take care of themselves, as I recall it. Moms do, in most instances, sometimes dads, but most instances it's your mother. And for her to be healthy is very, very important, or the baby's not healthy, and that baby doesn't have the same opportunities that you had. And eventually they get to the public school system and the whole gamut. And hopefully we want to keep them out of Blair Bats, and we got great medical facilities, but we want our babies to stay out of them. So I think you'll see more of an emphasis on pro-child and pro-life, truly pro-life in our state, which is where we need to be.
Now, we have something else coming up. You're talking about moving forward, and that is the case. This discussion didn't end Friday. This discussion got going on Friday. It started it.
You're going to have many different states. New York and those are northeastern states are going to continue their abortion, and there'll continue to be fights there to eliminate it one way or another. My emphasis this next 6 months and this next term is going to be on Mississippi.
Now, having said that, moving forward, a lot of discussion still happening. It is just as important as it's always been, if not more so, to exercise, as they used to say, exercise your franchise, exercise your right to vote, and you've got another chance to do that tomorrow.
Yes, 2 people who will be voting in Washington on a lot of these issues are going to be hired tomorrow, or at least they'll be nominated by their parties tomorrow. Both Republicans in the 3rd and 4th congressional districts. So we encourage everybody to go vote. If you have opinions about this one way or another, you need to go cast your ballot.
Exactly. And I knew I had to bring that up. As an old Secretary of State, you still have an interest in this. You still pay attention to this.
I do still pay attention, and I was disappointed in the turnout for the primaries, and you just can't warn people enough, and it's all of your education. These kind of issues, life issues, tax issues. I mean, everything evolves out of this, and sometimes people just are so involved in their own day-to-day activities. You got to get the kids, you got to get school, you got to get all the other things. But so you would hope they would carve out time to go cast a ballot.
And we'll go. I want to talk to you again because I want to get back to this. Ray and Clinton, and I hear this all the time. The legislature should make the fathers take care of these children rather than the state taking their place. That is the largest can of worms I've ever heard someone trying to open.
I expect it will be opened this time. They do have responsibilities, and right now under Mississippi law, there are certain issues. For example, last year we in the Senate passed a bill that said if you won a bunch of money at the gaming casinos and had child debt, that the child debt sport got paid. And it didn't pass out of the House. I think that's going to come back up again. I don't see why you should win a whole bunch of money in Vicksburg or on the coast or somewhere and then skip your child support while you have a great time. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me. So we made some steps about collecting dads.
Can you stick around for just a couple more minutes?
Yeah, I can for just a minute more. We got to get down to office about 8 or so.
Okay, yeah, just a couple of minutes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Then we'll
much.
let you go.
I'm a state employee, man.
Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann almost on the clock, and he'll be back with us next on the Gallo Show. Dave Hughes in with Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, and as we discovered during the break, he could be here for the next 2 hours, and we wouldn't run out of things. Like twice during the break, he said, I need to talk about this, because we've got so many things going on, and one of them was MDOT.
Yeah, we're real excited. MDOT has on its calendar coming up to award the $100 million of extra maintenance money, and it'll be awarded all over the state. So we pardon the interruption, but we're fixing to go spend $100 million on roads and bridges all over the state. The legislature this year appropriated approximately $1.6 billion for roads and bridges. $100 million of it was to do additional maintenance work. We're doing the maintenance that was scheduled for 2023 and 2024. So we accelerated by 2 years and gave MDOT $100 million to do that. They have gone out and asked for applications, and I understand those are back, and they're going to make their awards coming up this week. So that's really good because the money becomes available July the 1st, and they're on top of their game. They're going to be out making all these awards really at the very beginning of when they could get the money from the state. So I'm real excited about that. That's a big thing for Mississippians. They'll see a lot of work going on. The legislature, I thought, did a really smart thing. They added that $100 million to, and there's $79 million that came from the lottery, and then they prepaid $40 million to get some matching federal grants that are about $200 million, and then all of it added up to about $1.6 billion. So you're going to see some asphalt and concrete and dirt moving around Mississippi, and I'm real excited about that.
Which means some people are going to get upset because they're going to have to drive around the construction.
I think Highway 49 may finally be finished. I had nothing to do with that, so don't call me.
Don't believe a word you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that may eventually finally be done.
No, I don't believe you.
As mea culpas go, that one was kind of weak, Governor. I'm sorry.
I can't tell you how many times I call and ask them about that. We get complaints about, everybody that lives south of Florence trying to come to work.
Well, and that there are several different spots, and one of them just in Jackson in general. It seems like there has always been, and this isn't the state so much as federal, but on the interstate system. My wife asked me not too long ago, said, how long have they been working on the roads in Jackson? I said, since the Hoover administration. That's what it feels like anyway.
They don't do too good either around here. So I've got Yazoo Clay, but apparently it's still, we're not up to speed there. But according to MDOT, my many calls and questions about that process, we're getting very close, and they're talking about sometime before the end of the year to finish.
Are we going to have like some sort of celebration?
I think we ought to. It really, if it wasn't driving, it involved some alcoholic beverage, but I think we can't do that. But maybe we ought to meet down in front of the Walmart down there, and everybody gather and say a prayer of thank you.
Everybody pull up in the parking lot and just gather together in a circle.
I'll come to Walmart there in Richland.
You mentioned the budget hitting for MDOT on the 1st, which is this Friday.
Right.
We have some new laws that are going into effect Friday too, right?
Yeah, we do. All of the legislation that we passed last year comes out this year, of which, of course, the highway department is one of the biggest because we devoted so much money to it. But one thing I've been working with, I was before the supervisors and I'll be at MML, Mississippi Municipal League, tomorrow or Wednesday, visiting with them. We started out right away, Dave, saying, look, you got $900 million from the federal government that you never thought you'd get. And if you will hold on to that money, Mississippi will match it for water and sewer projects and water And when we came out this year, we put up $450 million to match cities and counties, and $300 million for rural water, which is just a grant for people out in the counties. Those funds, we believe that the cities and counties have saved enough of their ARP money to get the match. So you could see roughly over $1 billion of water and sewer projects going on in this state. And why that's so important, these county supervisors and city managers and mayors, they're really dictating where their next industrial project is going to be, or where their next subdivisions are going to be, or they're repairing age-old infrastructure. So to have $1 billion spent like that, I was real proud of the legislature. We received American Rescue Plan money, $1.8 billion. We didn't spend $400 million of it. We saved that to bolster these various projects that are going on in the cities. But we matched that amount of money, $450 million plus another $300 million for rural, and you're going to see some dramatic improvements in our water and sewer, which is one of the key things for both education and industry.
Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, before you go, I think we have to get you on record. We have to get you recorded saying hotty toddy at least once.
Hotty toddy and Hail State and all that stuff. We've had a great year in Mississippi sports, men's and women's, and I'm really proud of them. It makes everybody's day a lot better. And so congratulations to Ole Miss Rebels, and we'll look forward to having you home. They're going to have a heck of a party in Oxford this week sometime.
Well, what do you mean sometime? It's ongoing.
Right. I saw one guy last night was in a bar, and he obviously had been there a while, and he said, yeah, and I got a final in the morning, so I don't know whether they pass or not. We'll see, but it's a great day for me.